Welcome to Stalls and Glitterballs with Jess and Lindsay.
Today's episode is going to be about ticket prices and whether you're paying too much. Now, ticket prices have been increasing over time. I have stats from 2018, which shows a 19% increase. This is West End tickets, just to clarify. A 19% increase. The average price for a top tier ticket is now £117.52.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've personally never paid over £50 for a ticket. Like one ticket.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Yeah, but to counter that, there's been a decrease in the average cost of the cheapest tickets, falling to on average £19.30.
Wow.
Obviously, though, with the cheapest tickets, you do often get a restricted view, whether that be not being able to see like most of the stage, like half of it, or like a safety barrier, or like a pillar, that kind of thing. There's usually something, but you sometimes can get lucky. When I went to see Les Mis on tour, my mum got what was considered a cheap seat, but it just like very slightly obscured your view of the stage. But it was like 20
I feel
quid
like some
cheaper.
of the restricted view ones aren't as restricted as you expect.
Yeah, definitely. I think people see the word restricted and they shy away, for sure.
Yeah. I definitely think some websites out there where it's like view from my seat and you can like see
that's
what
very
that
helpful.
seat's seeing.
Yeah, definitely. Because even I think in some theatres, actually being front row is sometimes a hindrance.
Yeah, sometimes they're restricted view, aren't they, anyway?
Yeah, because you're looking up.
And can't see like the back of the stage.
Yeah. So you can't see like who's coming on and scenery and stuff. So the most expensive show, and there's no surprises here, is Hamilton. And top tickets for that cost £250.
That's mad.
That
not one that you'd take your family to.
Yeah, just go on your own.
Yeah.
And also up near the top is Wicked. Of course, that's been on the West End for years now.
Yeah.
And their most expensive seat is £202.
Wow.
Both of them were increases on last year as well. Hamilton was up £50 and Wicked was up 77.
Wow.
So
it's crazy to think about. Like, I feel like it's not something I've ever realised. Like, I know I went to see Wicked in 2017 and paid like around £50 for the dress circle, and that was like a decent view. But I feel like if I went now, like I'd probably still pay around the same price, and it'd probably still be a decent view.
Yeah, I think because it definitely depends how fussed you are about where you sit, I think. And we will have an episode in the near future about where we think the best place to sit in the theatre is. And of course, that is very subjective. So I know people have favourite spots and stuff, and I personally sit everywhere though, I think. But
I've definitely changed as I've got older.
Preferences have changed.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing. So do you think the ticket price depends on the show you're seeing? So we've obviously seen the example with Hamilton. Now, do we think that because it's more expensive, it being more expensive is because of the hype?
Yeah, I feel like
because it's
partly
demand.
Because there is a lot more demand, so they can get away with it.
Yeah. People will pay that because it's an amazing show.
Yeah, I mean, after seeing it on Disney Plus recently, I probably will. Maybe not the high end.
No, maybe not the top tier, but I would definitely overpay if that's
pay
if that's
more
the
than
word.
I would normally pay for a ticket.
Yeah, especially because they are like gold dust at the moment.
Oh God, yeah.
Especially at the moment.
There is no show.
Yeah. You see, I think it does, and I think also, and we're going to touch on this slightly more later. It depends on a lot of things with the show, such as I know in Miss Saigon when I went to see it on tour, there was a massive helicopter that literally comes into the stage. Now that doesn't come cheap, and if you have shows that have more complex staging like that, it's, it's
Yeah, it's
definitely,
gonna cost more.
yeah, definitely, it's naturally going to cost more. And obviously who's starring as well, of course. Um,
Yes.
so we've had Grease rescheduled near me, and that's starring Peter Andre.
Ah, yeah.
So that's a name that draws. Um, so I think whenever you have, big names like that, then obviously that's going to push the price up.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, well, it's basically everything, isn't it? More performers, more props.
Yeah,
Who the performers are.
cast
There's just
size.
so
So,
many.
like at the Watermill in Newbury, they work with a very small cast that often
Yeah,
does double duty. So therefore, they can keep prices cheaper. But yeah, if you've got a huge cast, you've got wages to pay.
yeah, definitely.
Um, so before I came into this episode, I did think there was a big difference actually between the prices in the West End and the prices you get on tour. So I did some digging, not literally with a shovel, but on on the internet, and I decided to compare the show Everybody's Talking About Jamie, which you might have heard of, maybe. Um,
Yes.
it's I haven't seen it. I will say
No, I
that
haven't.
I want to see it though, and it is hopefully touring after being rescheduled.
Yeah,
So I
it's on my
compared,
list.
yeah, definitely on my list too. Um, I love the songs that I've heard so far as well.
Yeah, same.
So I compared the prices in the West End first off. This is at the Apollo, not the same Apollo as Wicked, may I add. So it has a capacity of 775, which is quite low for a West End theatre.
Yeah.
Top tier tickets cost 85, whereas bottom tier is 20. So that seems pretty standard for West End. Now, if we go on tour, I thought I would choose a theatre that was comparatively bigger. So I chose the Mayflower in Southampton, which holds 2,300, and the top tier was only 39.50.
Oh wow.
And the bottom tier was 24.50. So the bottom tier was more than the West End one, but obviously the top tier was like significantly lower. And I think
Yeah.
that is down to the fact that there is more seats, so they can spread the cost a bit better. So then I thought, okay, that is quite a difference in capacity. So I found the lowest capacity theatre that it is touring to currently, from what I can see, and that
Yeah.
is the Theatre Royal Brighton, and that holds 995. Their top tier was 64.40, and their bottom tier was 13. So they've got the
Oh wow.
lowest. They've got the lowest bottom tier of the three, but they have got one of the higher top tiers compared to the Mayflower, at least.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I thought that was just really interesting. I just thought I'd do three comparisons and make the capacities a bit fairer. So to answer the question, yeah, there is a difference, but it does also depend how big your theatre is, it seems, from what I've
Yeah.
looked at.
Yeah. I was quite surprised because the only show I think that I've seen in the West End and on tour was Annie.
Yeah.
And that I actually paid pretty much the same price for both. And the one in the West End was the Grand Circle, and that was £45. And then I also saw it at the Lyceum Theatre in Sheffield, which was £44 for the Circle. So
Yeah.
I was actually quite surprised at that. Kind of in my head, I was like, oh, they paid more for the West End, but I didn't.
Yeah, so obviously my example was just one show, so it probably does vary by show as well.
Yeah. Although I think I was probably further back in the West End, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't really make a difference.
But if you're in the circle, you're in the circle, really,
Yeah.
in terms of pricing.
Yeah.
So, from my evidence, obviously, the West End does appear to be more expensive. In terms of why that might be, I think personally, I think one of the big reasons is just the name of the
it
West
is
End.
the West End.
Yeah, it's
And
the
also
West End.
London is just
Yeah,
dearer on a whole, isn't it? With everything.
Yeah, everything is more expensive in London. And I also think the cost of renting the theatre, because obviously these shows they do stay for quite an extended period, as opposed to maybe a week when touring.
Yeah.
Sometimes longer, but usually about a week when they're touring at each venue. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of it is just the fact that you saw a show in the West End. That is what pushes the price up.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but obviously what people don't consider when they're paying for a ticket is where that money actually goes, and to like lesser known things,
Yeah.
such as the catering department, such as those at the front of house who welcome you in and those who show you to your seat, hotels when you're touring. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think they pay for like they might pay for catering when you're touring. I don't actually know. Transport. They might pay for transport. Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know really.
Need
I
to
think
ask someone who's been on tour.
nobody knows. No, I think it does depend on the company, but some of them will pay for you, I'm sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot of things that you don't consider because you think, oh, yeah, no, you're paying for the show, but
Yeah.
there's so many people involved, and obviously that's been highlighted even more with the pandemic at the moment. How many it's like causing like a shockwave because there's so many people involved with theatre that you don't think about who are now out of work.
Yeah. And even like everything backstage, so like creating all of the props and the scenery and obviously all the things that would have been created before the show actually started. I assume the ticket will eventually cover the cost of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all the rehearsals and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there's a lot
So
of like initial cost before they can even recoup any of that.
yeah, all like if you think all the time that they spend casting, just getting the right people, even you know
Yeah.
that all takes time. Um, so probably one thing that everyone wants to know is how to get your tickets cheaper.
There are definitely ways.
Yes. So there's one local example near me at the Theatre Royal Plymouth, and that is where the way it works is you either sign up for email alerts or phone number alerts, and they will send out if it's space like pending, like there has to be space available. They'll
Yeah.
send out tickets with quite short notice. It'll either be for the performance the next day or the performance that night. They'll send out £10 tickets, and they're usually like in the circle or like in the circle like middle-ish, because I remember I took one once and it was circle middle, which was really good, or
Yeah,
like
that's not too bad.
or in the stores. Like they're very good tickets but just for £10, and they're like standby ones basically.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
um
sort of, I guess, sort of similar but different to the one at my local, well, it's not a theatre, but Grimsby Auditorium. Not quite as good as a proper theatre, but it does its job. Um, and that you can buy a theatre card. I'm not sure if it's like £25 or something. And with that, you get no booking fees. Although, as far as I'm aware, you can't actually book online, which is like a real pain. So you have to like actually go to the venue and book. But it's kind of worth it to save no booking fees. And then you also get a 10% discount on any drinks or anything that you buy at the theatre.
Oh, that's always nice, isn't it?
Yeah, because they're always like extortionate.
Yeah, especially does that include like things like programs?
Not the programs, it's
Ah,
just the drinks,
just the
because I
food, okay.
think because like the programs and things are kind of
Set by the
with the
show.
production,
Yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
And then you also get discounts on quite a lot of the shows. So often on opening night, which is usually the Tuesday, there's like 50% off. So I know I think most of the tickets that I've kind of had before are usually £36 each. And then with the theatre card, they go down to 18. So you're saving £18 on one ticket. So if you're buying
Yeah,
like
that's like half
two,
price.
yeah. So I think it's you can have up to 4 people. So I mean what's that? 18 times 4, 36, 72?
I'm gonna leave
£72.
you to do the maths.
So you're saving £72 if that's 4 people for one show. So it's definitely worth the
Oh yeah,
£25 cost.
that is if you know you're gonna go a lot, then
Yeah,
definitely
it's
get your
definitely
money's
worth
worth
it.
for sure.
Yeah. And I know there's also one at Hull Theatre that I haven't had, but I've definitely looked at. And they do the similar thing with like cheaper opening night tickets. And you also, as far as I'm aware, you also get like a tour behind the scenes,
Oh, I would be
which I'm like really
yeah, I
interested
would be
in.
very interested in that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you get a free programme at theirs, I think, for like some shows.
Wow.
So it's
So
definitely one I'm looking into.
the key is to research, and if you have a theatre near you, research, look online and see what they're offering, because
Yeah.
a lot of these things aren't openly, advertised.
No. No.
Another
You have
thing,
to kind of
if
know.
particularly you're in London, is you can go to there's a like booth in Leicester Square, a ticket booth, and they sell discounted West End tickets like for like that night, like standby and stuff.
Yeah.
There's an entire booth you can go to there. Um, Other than that, there's apparently a good strategy that if you go to the box office on the day again, you can pick up
Yeah, to get day seats.
yeah, you can pick up standbys and stuff.
Yeah, I know sometimes some of the shows have like specific tickets that are held back just for that, but I don't think
Yeah,
that's all of them.
no, it does depend, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember when Hamilton first came out, the only chance of getting a ticket was to enter the Hamilton lottery,
Yeah. Yeah.
which, if you win, then wow.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Strictly with the ballot, really.
Yeah. It's
It's the
definitely.
same. It's the same principle. There's so many people you're against, but if you win it, then
Yeah.
you can't not go, really.
No, it's the same with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. They have one in normally when things are back to normal. Every week they have 40 tickets at £40. And that's for both parts. So you're effectively paying £20 per part.
Yeah, which
So
is amazing.
yeah, that's really good.
So to answer the question, which is, and we're not really going to answer it, the answer is it depends.
Yeah,
Are you paying too much? It depends, really. It depends where you sit. It depends on the show. I
yeah,
think, we've talked about will rise even more
yeah,
because,
probably.
the theatres need the cash, but I'm happy to support that, of course.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I think
there's ways around
personally
it.
for me, I don't think to see a show, I feel like there's not really a limit for me. Like, kind of for tickets, I'd maybe not do the highest price, but kind of if I want to see a show, I'd kind of pay anything to see that show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, even if it was the lower tier, as they call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's worth it.
Okay, well, moving on to the news. A lot happened this week.
It did. I feel like there's been so much going on.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that hit the headlines.
There was.
First of all, this weekend should have been the weekend that indoor shows were allowed to go ahead. I think obviously with limited capacity, and there were like pilots taking place.
Yeah.
This has now unfortunately been delayed until at least the 15th of August. So is that 2 weeks time? Yeah, kind of 2 weeks time ish, I think.
Yeah. I think is it a week tomorrow as this goes out?
Yeah, yeah. So until the 15th. And yeah, I imagine that you might have to wear a mask in there as well, because they've now made masks compulsory in more indoor venues.
Pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and this was due to a recent rise in coronavirus cases.
Yeah, it's hard because, like, although it's good that you'll be able to have indoor performances, it's still not financially viable. So it kind of doesn't really affect that many. Although I know there are a few that are doing socially distanced, aren't there? But
Yeah,
I don't think it'll
but
be common.
even with the reduced capacity, it isn't that viable. You know,
No.
we've had industry figures like Andrew Lloyd Webber just saying like it won't be
Yeah.
enough. But moving on to the Christmas season, with back with Kudos again.
Yes.
They did their announcement as promised on Monday, uh,
Did.
and they basically said that they asked the government for clarity, and the government said that they weren't going to make any choice on theatres, any decision on theatres operating without social distancing until November at the earliest. So that Panto starts early December usually.
Yeah.
So that is not, that is
Not enough time.
a ridiculous time frame to be expected to. So what they've said
Yeah.
is they're going to start consultation with theatres individually, which is interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that.
No, so Kudos puts on, a lot of shows all over the country. So that's a lot of theatres to individually negotiate with.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess it will depend on different factors like cases in the area, size of the theatre, little things like that, who's starring, whether they can.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought maybe they could just hold the pantos in Easter, because pantos do happen in Easter sometimes, like in a weird way.
Yeah, that's true. I
But
guess
I
it depends
guess
on how people are available and everything.
cast
But
cast availability would be, quite a problem there. But
yeah. But yeah, it would definitely be interesting because it sort of made me think, are they going to maybe investigate doing some socially distanced ones? Maybe not like as many as they normally would, but I don't know, just the fact that they've kind of talked about doing individual theatres, I'm like,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
I don't know how that'd work if they've kind of already sold all the tickets, but
No, that was my kind of issue.
yeah, like how do you go about who gets the tickets? But I guess time will tell with that one.
Yeah, it's all about waiting.
It is forever waiting. So another one of the probably one of the biggest ones recently from the West End was that Cameron Mackintosh announced Phantom of the Opera is going to permanently shut down, which was a
What
lot of
a massive
shock.
blow. Yeah.
But then I feel like was it the next day or something, Andrew Lloyd Webber said, as far as he's concerned, it
No,
will
it's
open
not.
ASAP. So my head was a little bit mind blown because I'm like, you've got one person saying it's permanently shut down and the other one saying it's opening ASAP. So I don't quite know what's going on with that.
Yeah, it's a bit unclear, unfortunately. Clearly been some
Yeah.
sort of communication breakdown between the two.
Yeah. I mean, before it had been announced that it was permanently shutting down, Andrew Lloyd Webber, I think, had made an announcement that there was going to be like redoing all of the props and kind of like making
Yeah,
everything, bringing it
he,
back to life
he had like
almost.
explained how it was going to be put on, didn't he?
Yeah. So it
Um,
kind of made sense to me that it was going to be closed until the props had been sorted, but not to then say it was permanently shut down was like, huh?
yeah, and this wasn't just the West End version either. This was the touring version. This was everything to do with
Yeah,
Phantom just
gone.
gone forever, seemingly. It was not a good time to be reading the headlines, I can tell you
It
now.
was not.
Um,
No.
but yeah, so I think for now we're just going to believe Andrew Lloyd Webber and hope that it will stay.
Yeah, I can't imagine it'll be gone for good.
No, it's one of the greats, one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, it's just been there forever. You just can't
Yeah,
get rid of that.
you can't imagine a theatre lamb without it. That's for sure.
No, definitely. And then the final piece of news from this week is about Six the Musical again.
This is
I
like
feel like this is like a weekly
is this
thing.
like in a row now? I feel like we might have missed it last week. It's almost
Maybe.
in a row. We've
Yeah.
said it. This is the third time we've mentioned it anyway.
Yeah, and we're on episode 4, so 3
Yeah.
quarters. So the news this week is it has been announced that they're going to perform a one night only drive-in show on the 12th of September. And that is 11 people from 6, which I believe is from the touring version and the West End version.
Yeah.
And it's going to be 2 hours and feature a celebration of all things musical theatre. So it's not a production of 6, but I assume there will be some 6 songs in there.
It just seems like a bit of a show, really, but like,
Yeah, it'll be amazing. But this is in a drive-in venue north of Walthamstow in outer London. That's all I could find.
So, sorry
not,
that's so obscure, but off you all go. Go find
yeah,
it. Go
go find a
find it.
drive-in venue.
Go find it and see 6 for one night only.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
why
not
not?
6.
Yeah, 6 that's not 6.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that'll be
so
good.
we're on to Song of the Week now.
Yes. So this is a very random one, but as I was listening to Magic at the Musicals and Light at the End of the Tunnel from Starlight Express came on.
Oh, yes,
And
I have heard this one.
yeah, it just brought back memories because that's kind of one of the earliest like memories of a song that I can kind of remember from musicals.
Was it?
And it just,
Wow.
yeah, Starlight Express and Joseph. But Joseph I kind of like linked to school.
Yeah,
So
automatic.
Starlight Express.
You just think of nativity, don't you, with Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Light at the End of the Tunnel is just kind of one of them ones that brings back a bit of nostalgia to me. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for that one.
And we will be setting up the playlist for that because we do now have 3 songs, so
We do.
it will be,
Yes.
you know, an amount
A
that
playlist of 3 songs.
you can put it on shuffle, and I'm sure you'll get through it
Within 10 minutes.
Yeah. So next episode, we're going to talk about rumoured contestants for Strictly because it's that time again where the tabloids are going crazy with, well, rumours.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe this time last year they'd already started announcing.
Yeah, I mean, everything's obviously been pushed back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to just discuss them and I guess how likely we think they would be to, actually do it. We're probably going to be terribly wrong with most of them, but
probably
that's the fun of it, isn't it?
It is.
So it was a slightly shorter episode this week, but we say this every time, but we will have Hamilton for you this week. We're making sure of it as a bonus episode. So
yeah.
that will make up for it's only slightly shorter than our usual episodes.
Yeah.
Last episode was a bit of an exception with,
Yeah, we got a bit carried away.
We got carried. Yeah, we had to end that one early, but yeah, this time we've got it better. This time we will get down to a consistent-ish structure, I hope.
Yes. All progress.
Yeah. And that's all.
Time for the curtain call.